Bigger than capes.
Give me some outside.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it, and then I watched it.
Oh, dry.
Hello, welcome to Bigger Than Capes. I'm Zach, and this week I'm joined by Angela, Will, and Matt, the collective known as
the Unity.
Capes.
Yeah.
How is everybody? All good? Say hi. Do the words. Go.
Yeah.
Howdy.
Hey.
We are here.
Here we are.
We've just all watched Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe. That's right. We all just got in our sleeping bags on the sofa, had the popcorn, watched Ninjak. That sort of good time.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the fantasy world we live in, where we're able to be in one place.
Mm-hmm.
Soon.
And
Soon.
not all just watching it. Yeah, Ninjak.
So, Ninjak. So, for those people at home who are not aware, you poor souls, Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe was a 2018 web series released by Valiant Entertainment and Bat in the Sun. It was, for many of these characters, the first and up to now only live action adaptation. And for reasons that perhaps we'll never fully understand, it was released in, I want to say 5 installments?
6, I think.
Hang on.
Possibly 6.
It might have been 6.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
It was released in
6.
6. It was released in 6 installments through comic book resources.
CBR.com.
And seemingly nowhere else. It wasn't really on YouTube, and people kept uploading it to YouTube, and it kept being taken down. And there were Valiant fans kind of in forums telling you, the ways you could download it from CBR. And
so I've
Good
read that
tell.
it was upon the release of Bloodshot that Valiant released Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe back onto YouTube as a sort of companion piece. Or maybe just to say, look how far we've come.
It is probably look how far we've come. Yeah.
Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe is like a how's it going? How it went, how it started, and then
how it's going.
How it's going.
yeah,
I'm not familiar enough with memes to have pulled that off.
I think you did okay.
We're too old, Will.
Far too old and
so
tired.
I'm going to ask a question now that's probably just a question I'm asking myself and Angela, but how many of you watched this when it came out in 2018?
I was aware that it was coming out, as I was a Valiant fan by that point already. It had been for a few years.
Okay.
But I just kind of... It was CBR.
Yeah, it's insane.
I wasn't really
I didn't want to watch it.
going there much, and so it just made it... The very limited sort of release like that made it very easy to forget that it was happening.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So kind of as a continuation of that then, for purely Angela's benefit, I see at this point. I know that in 2018, we were both, let's be honest, stupidly excited for this.
We were. There are messages somewhere between the two of us showing
counting down the days.
Literally, there were markings off on calendars for this. Yeah. God, what sad people we are.
But here's the thing. I know I was listening to Valiant podcasts at the time, and I was in a bunch of Valiant Facebook groups and stuff like that. And literally everyone was like, this is going to be the best thing ever. This is going to be, the start of a new MCU. This will show people what you can do with Valiant. This is going to make people see how badass the Valiant Universe is.
Yeah, we had such hopes that this was going to be the start of something big.
And
but
I think
you'd seen Bat of the Sun before, right?
Yeah, Yeah.
But we thought maybe Valiant would give them more money.
Yeah.
Money doesn't equal talent.
I've seen Wolverine fight Batman and all that kind of stuff that Bat in the Sun do, and I guess I thought Valiant would put up enough like cash to make this like the next level for Bat in the Sun, and everyone would benefit. Yeah. I think we're probably the first people to review this since it came out, since the excitement has gone away. Mm-hmm. So this might be the first and only honest review this ever gets.
Sadly true, because
this has 6.8 out of 10 on IMDb. This is well received. This has a higher rating than some films I would give like 10 stars to.
Yeah.
I wish that like we could actually find what the budget was. Like, because I'm genuinely quite interested as to sort of like, because I want to know, just so I can be either impressed or disappointed, because currently it's just a mystery.
You want one or the other.
Yeah.
So,
I would be willing to say at this point that I think you can gauge the budget by the entire thing is meant to be in England, as far as I'm aware, and yet none of it is.
Yeah. It's very that's the problem, is we've not even tried. Like the sets, they're like, oh, that's like an American PI's office, or that's like an American office building, or that's like an American hotel. That's like an American bunker.
When there's the fight in like the forest, that is literally the most like American, like I don't know, California or something like forest I've ever seen.
And the most American trees in the world, man. God damn it.
Yeah. When like they're going, when I was going through like the atrium, I was like, that for some reason, even like the tiles and stuff I was looking at going, oh, that looks very American.
I mean, they've got some stock footage of the MI5 building, so that was nice.
Yes.
Yeah, I assume they lifted that from a much better film.
From Spooks, probably.
Yeah.
Hours and hours of it on Spooks.
Yeah,
I'm going to try and give a synopsis of unless somebody else wants to do it, I'm going to...
No, go for it.
Should we say, before we go forward, that this is part of a 2-part series that we're doing, where next month we're going to also watch the actual cinematic debut of the Valiant Universe with Bloodshot, and see how the two of them kind of hold up,
or not.
The case may be.
Spoilers.
Yes, allegedly this is a thing that's happening.
Unless you cut this out of the recording, in which case no one will ever know.
Absolutely evidence. No, that is the plan at this point. Whether that's still the plan in an hour's time, it's anyone's guess. So, all right, I'm gonna explain the plot to this. Ninjak is a kind of... I assume I'm going to have to explain all these a lot.
You're going to have to explain who
He's Bond Batman.
Yeah. He's James Bond via Batman. He might be culturally appropriating stuff that we shouldn't be. He's a British ninja, and there's always going to be some kind of issue with that, isn't there?
He's a white British ninja.
He's Ninja K.
Yes. No. There's a ninja program in MI6. We all know this. We just don't talk about it. Basically, the premise of this series is that he is blackmailed, coerced, whatever word you want to use, into stealing an asset from MI6. And basically that is because his boss's family have been...
His boss and his only friend.
His boss and his only friend's family have been abducted by Roku. Who's Roku, you ask? Well, Roku is
Complicated,
yeah. She's a former girlfriend, if my understanding is correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
Of Colin King.
Girlfriend and colleague, yeah.
Yes. Who, through reasons, has ended up with kind of magic hair that is super sharp but can move around, kind of like Medusa's hair from the Inhumans. She also looks quite a lot like Medusa from the Inhumans. I think you have to be a redhead to have moving hair.
That's the rule. You can't have moving killer hair unless it is red.
Glad we are all in agreement. And Ninjak works for MI6, so when he steals something from MI6, they're all like, oh, that's not on, mate. You work for us. And basically, then Neville, who is his friend and boss, and has to, sick Unity on him to get back the assays stolen. Unity, in this case, comprising Livewire, Bloodshot, Exo Manowar, the Eternal Warrior, Archer, and Armstrong.
Yes. Do we need to explain who all those people are?
I mean, this is already going to be a long podcast, I think. I think big blow for blow bios.
We can discuss who they are as they appear in the Ninjak universe.
I think people will get it. And they basically, rather than gang up and take on Ninjak in one fell swoop,
which would be sensible,
decide to kind of let Ninjak run the Unity Gauntlet, and he fights each one of them in succession. I don't even know why. And I know exactly why. I know the premise of the show is to introduce us to the entire Valiant universe. And it kind of does that. I think we're going to wrap up this episode by making suggestions to how that could have been done differently. But that's this in a nutshell. Has anyone got anything they'd like to add to that, or?
No, I think like that Ninjak runs the gauntlet whilst trying to figure out a way to kind of get out of the predicament that he's in with Roku and the Book of the Geomancer.
Well, there's a spoiler for what the asset is, folks, if you didn't know already.
Oh, I'm sorry.
See, let's open up with that. We're told this is the Book of the Geomancer. At no point in this does anyone explain what a Geomancer is.
It did strike me that for a show, perhaps supposedly to introduce a new audience to these characters, it didn't explain who Roku is.
No.
It didn't explain.
I've explained Roku more.
Yeah, than the show ever does.
Yeah. In the show, she is woman with scary hair.
I was going to list out characters that it didn't explain, but it's all of them. So
part of me wonders.
Even Ninjak isn't really explained.
No.
Yeah, part of me wonders whether the lack of explanation is in part because it was put on a website like CBR. So it was kind of just expecting. If you're going on CBR already to watch this, you're seeking it out because you're a fan, and therefore we can just throw you in the deep end.
But I kind of think that's the problem, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
Whilst everybody I know who watched this likes Valiant Comics, I kind of struggle with the idea that this was clearly intended to introduce people to Valiant Comics.
It doesn't.
So why put this on comic book resources when this could be on YouTube? Why not put this everywhere?
Yeah, I mean, Bat in the Sun have their own YouTube channel, for goodness sake. They're doing the productioning. They're making the thing. And there's no trace of it on their channel now. I don't even think they've got a trailer on there now.
All it really does in terms of character introductions is character flavor introductions. It gives you a sense of the character. It is very much showing without showing not telling, in terms of, hey, Archer and Armstrong, here they are in a bar and they're doing what Archer and Armstrong do, but a little bit different than they would in the comics, but not telling you, but obviously it's kind of hard in an hour and a bit to also tell you, okay, so Aram, Gilad, Ivar. So let's go back to the first city. Okay, so you know how like Gilad and Armstrong just like keep on getting their shit kicked in. Well, guess what? It doesn't matter. They're real tough, and I mean real tough.
See,
it can't like.
That's such a good point. They don't even tell us like that the immortal brothers are immortal or brothers.
Yeah.
It took me a while to realize that it wasn't doing that because I already knew. So I completely read into it. But there is one moment where I think Gilad is like trying to train Unity in a flashback that I didn't know was a flashback until it ended.
Yeah, I was trying to get confused by that.
I was just like, why is Ninjak just strolled in? Like they're all after him. He's just, hey guys, it's me.
I had exactly the same problem.
So during the flashback, and then he says to him like, calm down, brother, in that super well acting voice. And that was the point that I thought, oh yeah, they've never really set up like their relationship at all, or why this drunk hangs out with a sort of young, impressionable boy
who isn't really a boy because he's clearly a man pretending to be a boy, and it somehow that's creepier, and I don't know why.
This already might be too deep a cut to be getting into, but Archer's powers,
the Akashic record,
are just ignored. I mean, pretty much in the comics as well.
True.
There's a process of him. Is it him and who's he fighting? Oh no, it's when him and Armstrong are fighting Ninjak, and I think they even have a chat about like what a real fighter does. And I'm thinking like Archer should just know everything.
Yes,
because he does.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, like to it, Archer is the one who actually puts up the best fight in the whole thing.
Yeah.
And if you watch the way he moves, he's like, it's like he at one point looks like he's doing something like Wing Chun, and then doing like various other things. He's moving around better than anyone else in the film somehow.
See, this is something I said to Angela before we started recording, that I think that might be the best fight scene in all of this.
It is. Yeah.
And
I actually like that scene.
So if we take this from the top, first off, Ninjak fights a bunch of MI6 agents who are kind of generic and, you know, batters all of them, let's be honest.
Yes, helmets and guns.
Well, in fact, he fights that we have the whole hotel thing, don't we? Because isn't that Roku? Yeah. Okay, let's go back to the very beginning of, you know, Paris. With some mysterious reason, we CGI'd a metro train in front of the Eiffel Tower because that's how you know it's Paris. And then, you know, he's there with Vivian. He's clearly high on something, but I think Michael Rowe's high on throughout most of this film, to be honest. He just gives the impression of Colin does coke. That's the
I mean, it's not entirely out of character,
it's not out of character. It's a character choice completely.
I will say, I do think he's not entirely a bad choice for Ninjak. He does look like Ninjak, and when you put him in the outfit, I think it does work.
Yeah,
certainly
he's got one of the better costumes.
Yeah. It's not something that I particularly require of a character, but I do think he loses something by not having a suave like British accent. Yeah,
because he's an American, and he doesn't even make an attempt at an accent, which maybe is a good thing.
But I think like we describe him from the comics is Bond Batman. Well, in this, he's just Batman. Like there's none of the kind of Bond suaveness. He's a quipping ninja man.
Out of curiosity, this is probably a question that is just for Will. Which James Bond actor would you cast as Ninjak, and why is it Pierce Brosnan?
It is absolutely Pierce Brosnan.
It is 100%. There is
Pierce Brosnan. I mean, Dalton in his day.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Never Roger Moore.
Never Roger Moore.
Never Roger Moore.
Good talk, guys. I think we've answered the real question.
Dalton and Bronholm are the right answers.
Oh no! Can we please have George Lazenby?
You know George Lazenby was blackballed by Hollywood.
Oh yeah, but like,
not by batting the sun.
George Lazenby, in one of his test screenings, was asked to throw a stage punch, and because he wasn't an actor and had no stage training, he tried to throw a stage punch and threw a punch hard enough to break the guy's nose. Who he was doing the screen test with. So I think that's some Ninjak energy.
That is Ninjak vibes.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. So back to the fight scene in the hotel. There was a point. I've lost it. So let's make a new one. So you have the generic fight with Roku's guys, and it's got that classic strangling a man in the bathroom, because that happens in all good spy films, doesn't it? Yeah. Killing a man in a bathroom.
It's got a real attempt at John Wick kind of vibe, with him in the suit and using the bow tie to choke a man.
Yeah.
Doesn't really carry it off, but I know exactly what it's going for.
Yeah. But that feels just like we have this hotel scene, aside from setting up Roku needs to blackmail him, but it's like we're setting up this because all good action films have a fight in a hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
Yeah, and it's not great. And then poor Vivian gets her hair through the brain, and it's really unclear that that's how she dies. It's not an obvious. I mean, I don't want it to be obvious on the one hand, but on the other,
it does. It does look like she gets her throat slit by a length of hair.
Yeah, it's like, so how has she just died?
Yeah, I think it's kind
not
of
until you
bored
see
into
her on
the
the floor.
Yeah, it's
not until you see her on the floor and you see the blood on the side of the head.
I can confirm the comic is a lot more graphic in that you literally have hair going through her skull.
Through her hair.
Yay!
Yay! Go! But yeah, it's not. It's an interesting start, isn't it? Isn't it?
Well, I mean, this film is in effect just a series of linked up fights with the broad shoestring plot between it.
I feel like that's why you've hired Bat in the Sun, ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in there lies its first strength for me, is that I actually think for the most part, despite being generic in their setting and scenario, I think a lot of the choreography is quite good.
That's fair.
Like, I think it's of a relatively high standard for the budget that they'll have. But having watched the first kind of couple of episodes of Jupiter's Legacy, I think the end of either the first or second episode ends in a kind of big fight. And I thought, it looks about the same to me in terms of believability of like the weight of the punches and the way people reacted to being hit. So, to throw some positivity out there.
Yeah, I think like Bat and the Sun are good at choreography, are good at thinking about fight scenes.
There are also, amongst the cast, there are a lot of people who are very experienced at doing fight scenes.
That is also true.
Yeah. Yes.
I feel like I have to ask the question now that I was going to linger on and save for later, but hey, here we are. So if we can all answer in unison, who do you think is the best bit of casting throughout all of this?
I don't know
it's John, whichever surname you want to give him. I'm going to go with Hennigan as the Internal Warrior.
Ooh, interesting.
I also like Johnny Nitro as the Eternal Warrior, but I actually quite enjoyed Alex Megley as Archer.
You see,
okay.
I thought on the one hand he did the fight scenes well, but on the other, I struggled to buy him as Archer. I don't know what it was, but then again, the whole Archer and Armstrong thing, I don't think that this, partly because these characters are not characters, they are mere ciphers in fight scenes.
Yes.
I don't think we had enough time to really show what Archer and Armstrong actually is. Because Armstrong's too much of an asshole throughout most of it.
Yes.
And you don't get to see why it is that Archer hangs around with him. So Archer just comes across as this naive person.
You don't get to see Armstrong's like cultural refinement and like kind of like sense of like.
Overall, he's a morally good guy, and he's just also a bit of a dick, but in a generally harmless way. But I know what you mean. You never really get much of a redemption for.
No,
it might have just been that it might just be that I liked their scenes, particularly that fight scene. That I was going like, oh, he's good, and John Morrison was. Yeah, really good as the Eternal Warrior.
And Will?
I don't know. No, nobody was really great. I mean, I think I've got to agree with you, really, that John Hennigan, or whatever his various stage names and personas are.
Johnny Mundo.
Oh yeah, little Johnny Niff-Naff, little Johnny Pebble Shoes.
Yeah, Johnny Drip.
Yeah,
little Johnny Weasel Hat. Yeah, little. I think he certainly looked the part. I don't want to blow my positives too quickly. I think overall the costumes were pretty solid.
Yeah. When they were actually practical costumes rather than doing the bits that they had to do with CGI, costumes are great. Like some of them are like picture perfect to panels. Like I could look at I know that Armstrong's costume is very simple. It's just a few layers.
Pretty straightforward blue t-shirt with a stamp on it.
But I really actually felt that they got the look of Armstrong down perfectly. Like he was maybe he could have done with being maybe a little schlubbier, but he was pretty schlubby. And had like all the right sort of like the layering of the clothes and like the slightly sort of scruffy coat and stuff, like all looked great, as simple as it is.
But I don't think you can get any more accurate in costumes than with a red dot on it, and that's why Jason David Frank as Bloodshot is the best thing here.
Can I talk about Jason David Frank?
You can try.
Time to unleash the beast.
Go on.
Okay, so I love Jason. I have a complicated relationship with Jason David Frank. I love Jason David Frank. He was my favorite Power Ranger growing up, and he's now like an MMA fighter. Are any of you aware of his line of Christian-inspired MMA gear?
No, but I don't.
Only because you've told me about it.
Oh, have I already told you about this, Zach?
Yes, because we talk about Jason David Frank more than normal people, I imagine.
He has one of my favorite T-shirts of all time, which is a tap aisle T-shirt just with the words like "Jesus didn't tap out."
Oh my god!
Yeah,
and part of me is like, I could wear that.
That's such good stuff.
But like. Yeah, I love Jason David Frank.
I don't know what it is. You throw some white paint at that man. You shave some lines into the side of his head, and you chuck him a t-shirt and a trench coat on him. He is Bloodshot.
I'm on board.
Yeah,
but I think there's often a desire or an idea that you should change the costumes up from the comics accurate. Like if you take the comics accurate and apply it to a real person, it's going to look like ludicrous.
And yet here they absolutely make it work. You might argue that's just good costume design, right? Yes. Like the costumes themselves are solid.
The closest one to looking silly is Exo. And that's just in part. That's in part because of the CGI. Because there's one or two parts where he looks like he's PlayStation 2. And that's a struggle. Like when there's a moment where he blasts off, starts flying, and I'm like, oh no, they swapped out this man for a character from the Exo Man of War Iron Man PS1 game.
Out of curiosity, if we didn't see the CGI scenes where his helmet appears and stuff, and we just saw him in the actual legit actual suit they made, do you all agree that it would probably not be so awkward? I think it is purely as soon as we see that CGI flash of it appearing.
I don't know. I still think that silly, it looks a bit like.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The thing is calling it armor. That's the thing, is they call it armor, and it doesn't look like armor.
If you look around the neckline of it, underneath the just below the shoulder pads and the chest guard and stuff, the chest plate, you can see what looks like a chainmail, a golden sort of chainmail, or a golden webbing of some kind.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's the sort of LED strips or whatever they are, the lights kind of down the shoulders and stuff, do look a little silly at points. But without the CGI, I think you'd get away with a lot more of it. I'd be much more forgiving.
Yeah. I do also think, and we've not mentioned his existence yet, because I'm not sure if he's part of Unity or not. Shadow Man actually looks pretty good. They've
picked quite a specific version of his costume.
Yeah,
I think it was a good choice. It's a good version with the very thin kind of pinstripes kind of coming off the symbol.
Yeah.
I do think one thing that did bother me with Shadow Man is they've kind of just basically created what Shadow Man's character is, haven't they? And kind of made him just the Grim Reaper, really. He doesn't really portray...
Yeah, there is no nuance there. The fact that this is Jack Boniface and he has a shadow lower and all of that, which I get, because again, these characters characters.
There's no time.
There's no time. But at the same time, I mean, he's carrying a blooming scythe. I mean, it's just
and
pretty on the nose.
With the hood as well that they've given him.
Hood and the scythe, and he appears only, and he sort of appears in a cloud of smoke in a church. It's very Grim Reaper like.
Yeah.
Surprise! I'm here. I'm going to drop some enigmatic quotes and then I'm out of here and you won't see me again.
It's pretty brave, I think, to 30-40 minutes into this to just go, we're going to introduce the dead side, Shadow Man, and we're just going to do this right now as if that's just a logical step here. Like Bill and Ted playing chess with the Grim Reaper, it's just something that's happening for some reason.
Yeah.
I mean, within that, of course, we have Neville, whose family is taken, and he plays quite a key role. I thought he was amongst the worst of the... I'm going to give him a break and say not the worst of the acting, but certainly worst of the lines that he was given to deliver.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring up a point with Neville because it annoyed the crap out of me the entire time.
Ooh, is this the thing I was going to bring up? I bet it is.
Is it the mustard stains? That?
Yeah, right.
Oh, see, I liked that.
Sides, man.
I liked that it's there the entire time.
No, I'm okay with
that.
I love that it's there all the time and he doesn't change his shirt. What I can't deal with is the fact that it changes colour, size, and which side of his shirt it's on.
Okay, so at various points, the camera is pointed at a mirror. That's and therefore it looks like it's on the other side. Also, he's dabbed his shirt multiple times to try and get rid of it so it's less colourful. I'm just trying to make up excuses.
You've got all the answers.
I get that that's probably why they put the mustard stain in. Like, man, Neville's stressed, he can't even go home and change his shirt. But that you could have just left it. Just make him look a bit more dishevelled. Put a line in about him sleeping at the office. I don't know. Why the mustard stain? Why?
With his lack of a change shirt, let me ask you a question. How much period of time do you think passed during the runtime of the sort of roughly hour and 10 minutes runtime?
36 hours. We're totally in the opening scene. Bye.
Yeah.
So
flashbacks.
So with that in mind, then I have a follow-up. How long does Roku sit at a table? I mean, at least 24 of those 36 hours, right?
Oh, at least, yeah. But it's
Minimum.
a really nice.
Maybe more.
It is awkward because she's spying on, not spying on, she's monitoring Ninjak through nanites, sensory nanites she injects into him. And yeah, it is kind of frustrating that she monitors that by sitting at the end of a conference table, watching it on like a holographic projection rather than, say, an iPad or, a hotel room TV, whatever.
She could be doing other things and have it on her phone. That's a thing that could have happened.
Yeah.
She could have, one of her minions just keeping tabs while she does other evil deeds.
But she's got to sit there with her chin and occasionally smile as if...
And I don't know, I was going to check and I couldn't be asked if it's the same her leaning, smiling every time or if it changes. I can't tell.
It could very well just be the same little bit of footage.
If it is changed, there is more continuity in her expression than there was in the mustard stain, which I think says a lot.
Can I ask another Roku question?
Let's go.
Why, for the fight with Colin at the end, does she get her eyes back from being white and cloudy?
Because she says something about eyes and
no, I know how, Matt. My question is why.
So she can see
because
her own eyes.
All the better to see you with.
Yeah, all the way.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, she wanted to see his defeat. Not that it happened with her own eyes, but she didn't know that he was stowed on the plane. So, yeah. I don't know. She'd not had time to do the spell to cloud her eyes back. I don't know.
I think it's more likely they ran out of CG budget and said, right, we need to come up with a reason why we can cut the eyes thing.
He became allergic to the contact lenses.
Will, are you saying that the laptop ran out of battery when they got to that scene? I don't think that's.
Probably cost like $500 a second for those cloudy eyes.
Sure.
That noise.
Yeah.
I need to set them up with my cloudy eye guy because I can get much better rates than that.
That is all. Thank you. Yeah, please continue.
So yeah, after the next scene then, after the hotel.
I mean, we're well in, aren't we? So I've got a note. 36 hours. Blah blah blah. Yes, titles. Oh, the titles. Can we talk about the titles? Because they're a thing. Yes, go on. Tell us about the titles. You've got like the shots from the actual comic book art, and then it's got the people. And the last two people mentioned are Jason David Frank, because they're with, and Derek Viller. I don't know how you pronounce his surname, but it's Viller. Yeah. I'll wait for Zach to give me a check on that pronunciation. But I'm just thinking, because they're at the end and they've got the with and the and, they'll have been paid more. There's a fact for you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. I'm just wondering why you would pay Derek the Lur more when his acting doesn't seem to...
Does Derek, who is Arik, incidentally...
Yeah.
Derek, who is Arik.
Exo Man of War. Yeah.
I'm not being a dick with this. Does he have any dialogue?
Yeah. He gets angry at points, and
there's a point where he says, "How do you know Shadow Man?"
Oh God, yeah.
And then,
we get that amazing line. Yeah. I'm a walking dead man. Of course I know him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not quite as ecstatic as that was, but
because I'm not sure. Of course I know him.
That was a good
he gets that rad line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He talks a few times, like he talks in the training sequence, doesn't he?
Oh, when he's fighting the shot.
Yeah, I would smash you and all that, and the shot's like, I'd shoot you with a gun, and he's like, my armor's bulletproof, you idiot, and it's like, wow.
And live wires, like Well, I just,
Yeah, I can control your suit. I can control your nanite. So shut the hell up, boys.
I thought pretty boastful for someone who didn't notice that Colin was full of nanites when they had their first fight together.
Yeah.
I've got to say, right, Livewire I think looks really like Livewire. The costume design is really good. The introductory fight she has where she's like sapping the electricity out of everything is pretty cool. We basically don't get our money's worth of Livewire though, do we? We don't see her talk to any machines. We don't see her like do much.
She
can't help but feel like
Gilad. She talks to Gilad and is like, "Hey, do you want to come and help track down Ninjak?" And Gilad's like, "No, he's my friend," and all that jazz. And then she's like, "Yeah, but you don't know what he took." And then he's like, "What did he take?" And then suddenly he's on board. And we find out later it's because the Book of the Geomancer. We don't know why the Book of the Geomancer means anything to Gilad. But hey, never mind. Just fill in the blanks, kids.
Just roll with it.
Yeah, but that's basically all she contributes.
Yeah.
She recruits people.
Which is kind of annoying because I do think she's not bad at being Livewire. I think we could have got more Livewire scenes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Should have. And also what was interesting, to fast forward to the end, we'll come back to the bit in the middle. Well, will we though? We'll fast forward to the end, and she does sort of hug Colin, because at the time in the comics, for those of us who remember those halcyon days of 2018, there was actually a line where Ninjak and Livewire were having a relationship.
Yes.
Before Harbinger Wars 2 happened and destroyed everything I know and love. So yeah, it was a nice little nod, I thought. But again, you could have expanded on that, guys. You could have done something with that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like you could have expanded on that. You could have done something with that. Is like
that is this film.
This podcast.
Yeah. But anyway, after the titles, let's go back. Can I just say, why does everything glow blue in these sorts of films? Is it a cheaper rendering package when you're doing CGI to go with a blue glow? Because literally all the technology glows blue. The lightning and the electricity is blue. All the holographic displays are blue. The electronic locks are blue. It's all blue.
I didn't notice, but it's a good point. And maybe multiple colours are more expensive. Like, we can do your green lightning, but an extra $500. Everything's $500 in CGI work.
That's right. Yeah.
Part of me wonders whether it's about whether composites easier, whether it doesn't clash with because there's a fair amount of green screen or blue and blue screen at various points when there's a bit where either Ninjak or Archer and Armstrong, I'm trying to remember specifically, are walking up to what looks like a logging camp for the good fight scene, and the outside sequence is looks really like it's green screen and stuff there. And then I sort of went back over it to sort of go where were the green screen bits and how regularly were they replacing outside shooting with studio shooting with a green screen and stuff. So I wonder whether, because I don't know enough about production and visual effects and stuff, to whether it just works better with that sort of thing to use a blue background. Also, it does look futuristic to use blue. Minority Report taught us that.
That's right.
Oh yeah, so it did.
That's true. And I guess you're not trying to make anybody look evil, and if it was red, then they'd be bad guys.
They'd be Sith, obviously. Anyway, where were we?
In fact, though, the Siths have blue lightning as well.
Oh damn, they do. It's all blue. Everything's blue. Blue sky beams up to the sky.
I mean,
I'm surprised one of those.
Yeah, the temptation to make an Eiffel 65 joke here is killing me.
Oh, I love that tune.
Oh God, Angela.
I don't know. It was a weird time in my life.
It was of a time. Definitely.
It was of a time. the teenagers.
Have you ever heard their other song where it's just them singing about video games for the PlayStation?
Yeah.
Red. That one.
Did
Resident Evil and stuff.
Did anyone read the Yondu comic a couple of years ago that made an Eiffel 65 and a Tobias Funke joke back to back?
No.
Yep. Tobias Funke I would have appreciated, but I can't imagine why I would have found myself reading a Yondu comic.
Sometimes you see a Yondu comic and you think, yeah, I'll read it.
It was a good creative team doing a comedy Yondu book. I had to. I was like, my hands are tied.
Right.
Well.
Fair enough.
It'd be weird otherwise.
So, the middle of this film. Have we even got past the MI5 fight yet?
No, because of that bit. So, this is a lot. We're going to have to fast forward through some of this. Right. So, Neville is in his office, which is not an MI6 office. It's not, is it? It's like the set you'd use for a sheriff's office or a PI's office. And he's eating his mustard sandwich. And my mum looked over at that point and said, "Man, that man's really invested in his sandwich," which is about the level of this. And then, when he's, had his sandwich in the inevitable mustard stain, and then there's an alarm that pops up to tell him there's a breach, but he can't figure that out on his own. So then we have to have the best character in this, which is his little office friend, who is listed as Neville's assistant on IMDb, and he comes in to tell him there's a breach, and Neville's all like, "Get me Colonel Kate Capshaw." And all the Valiant fans go, I understood that reference.
It's got one of my favourite exchanges of script where Neville says, "Are there cameras?" And his assistant says, "They cut the feed." And then Neville says, "Bollocks," and hits his table. And the whole thing is so year 12 pantomime that it's excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I was laughing so hard at that entire scene. It's one of my favourites. Just
for the rest of the day, just annoying Catherine by going like, "They cut the feed." Such melodrama.
Yeah, and that's when we have the fight in MI6 that Zach referenced about 2 lifetimes ago.
Yeah, about 2 hours ago I talked about this fight, and it's got almost a Deadpool-esque kind of sequence with the kind of, he's lift, he's limbering up, he's stretching out his legs on the railing, the doors pop open, there's no one there, he shoots his head around, he's like, "Hey." I don't know what the tone of this is. Of any of this. Is it funny? Is it just disappointingly sad? What's going on?
For me, it worked and didn't work by a moment-to-moment basis. Like, I actually thought the limbering up and the head popping around, fine. I thought that was quite sort of cute. The big countdown to the alarm going off, I just found sort of irritating. And when he does like a Henry Cavill, like, loads his arms. And I just think that's not very Ninjak. He's supposed to be a ninja, not like a pub brawler.
Yeah.
So
that would have worked with Armstrong.
But like a second by second beat, I thought, like, that was funny. That was quite fun. That isn't.
I've not even considered that he does zero ninjing.
He does very little. I mean,
he does have fighting.
He does have katana, and that's about as far as it gets.
This is completely irrelevant to this conversation, but I do remember them pointing out at the time on Batting the Sun's Twitter, Instagram, I don't know, that some of the details on his costume were made from like ninja stuff. So like the pieces of sword are like worked into his gear.
Costume,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you sure they didn't say Ninjago? We've made it out of Ninjago Lego.
Build it yourself, Ninja.
Again, like, I think Ninjak's suit is real comics accurate.
Mm.
One of the, I mean, again, we're not really heavily praising the plot, but one of the inconsistencies is he goes through this opening fight scene entirely invulnerable to bullets.
Mm.
And it results in a couple of like the little bit where he does a weird spin on the ground with his swords out and like pushes the bullets away and then chops a gun in half. I thought, again, that's kind of cool. Like moments. Yeah. But then also later on in the film, Bloodshot shoots him in the chest and kills him.
Shot in the heart, but ultimately you're okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you just take the bullet out in a dirty bathroom somewhere and just tape a bit of bandage over the hole. And you're fine.
Because the bullet dissolves into a pure shot of adrenaline.
I'm not even going to touch the physics and chemistry on that one.
As soon as Shadow Man says that to him, all I could think was, what? What kind of bullshit magic is that? Like a Shadow Man trick, or is that a Bloodshot thing? Why does Bloodshot have adrenaline bullets? Why does Shadow Man have adrenaline bullets? What is going on with this? And if it dissolves, how does he then take it out?
I think it's supposed to be suggested at some point that like this was planned to send him to the dead side.
Bloodshot and Shadow Man had
a little.
I'm like, yeah, you know what? Look, I've got to shoot him, but can you make it so he doesn't die? Like, pull his soul out the dead side, send him back. It'll be fine. I'm shooting him with a bullet that'll dissolve into adrenaline.
You know what would have made this film? If it had a Ocean's 11 style like heist plan, where we understood all of that like twisty moment through a series of heist montages.
Yes.
I also have to, while we're on the Shadow Man scene, and well, we're not, but you know,
we're not, but we are now.
That conversation where Exo's like, "How do you know Shadow Man?" And Bloodshot's, like, "I'm a Walking Dead man." Why doesn't that end with, "How do you know Shadow
Man?" I'm a space orc.
Yeah, from the past.
It's just another question for whoever wants to answer it. I don't even care at this point. Right?
You're assuming there are answers to these questions, and I'm thinking most of them.
You thought Gilad would be more likely. He'd probably know.
Yeah, of course they hang.
Gilad knows everyone. Yeah.
And Armstrong at some point, met some version. He's same boat as but he's probably forgotten.
Yeah, of course.
He probably went out drinking with a Shadow Man at some point in history.
Yeah,
and it just went with the hangover. He no memory left.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, we get none of this from the show.
No.
No. We're basically writing fan fiction at this point.
Filling in all the gaps for
them. Filling in all the gaps that they completely failed to.
No jaunty. That was a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
A really horrible CGI monkey.
But I hear CGI monkeys run about $500 a minute. So
computer nightmares. Yeah. Oh, that'll be. You want a monkey? $500. Oh, you want it with a top hat? $5,000.
Yeah, they just shoved an extra zero on there for the hat.
Top hats are really hard to animate.
It's true.
It's difficult.
It's like trying to draw a car. It's way harder than you imagine.
Can't be done.
Yeah. Yeah. So after Ninjak has beaten up the guys in MI6, Neville, as well as getting Capshaw, who's just got beaten up. Poor Capshaw. Then they have to track down Bloodshot for the first of the...
Yeah, they call in it starts to call in Unity.
Yeah, so basically they ring Bloodshot while he's killing people, so weirdly he doesn't answer the phone. Who'd have thought?
Yeah.
It's like really... And I don't know what they were going for. Were they trying to make that comedic? Is that what they were thinking?
I think there's a slight kind of titter to the idea that he's just so busy killing gangsters that he can't possibly answer his phone.
As a fight, it's not a bad little introduction to Bloodshot, but it's weird.
With the various knife in body parts and knife in head and stuff, it's a very quick way of telling you this is Bloodshot, this is what he does. He is just constantly regenerating and stuff. If you damage him, he grows back his arm, and stuff it's a well set up sort of fight to just go shot. and like it works in that regard. But yeah, the tone might be a little odd.
Something struck me as particularly peculiar is they eventually, Neville and his assistant managed to get the fight on a local security camera, which at first takes the expected position of being sort of up in a corner and you're looking down asymmetrically. Then towards the end of the fight, it's sort of chest height so that Bloodshot can look directly into the camera while he punches it. So now apparently Neville's looking at him through the eyes of one of the gangsters that he's beating up. It got very confusing about how Neville was viewing this fight.
Probably through sensory nanites. At some point, a little drone came along and injected the guy with sensory nanites, and that's what happened.
Yeah, I think that checks out.
What's weirder is, I think that shot where we see like Bloodshot's face regenerate, where he's been shot in the head, and I'm fairly sure that was in the trailer, like cut one way, and then appears in this, like they're watching it on a little TV, and it's like, You had time to cut that in different ways, but where's Johnston, man?
My understanding is this hour and 11-minute film isn't everything that was in all of the episodes. There are little bits removed.
Yes.
That's my understanding. I never saw the original things as episodes, but my understanding is it's been edited down a bit.
I need to go and check that, because I'm not saying that through slightly less than possibly legal means I may have acquired those original episodes at some point in the distant past, but I can check that.
Can you imagine being Angela, who wants to watch this twice in a week?
My mind has more gone to Angela going through the back streets of Manchester going, has anybody got a copy of Valiant versus the Ninjak Universe? Wait, Valiant versus the Ninjak Universe?
Surprised what you can get hold of in the
That's
Northern
probably what the knockoff's called. I can do heroin. I've got some coke. No. I want Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe.
Uncut, the purest you got.
I'm good for it.
Sad to be me. Yeah, so after we have Bloodshot, to get away from my hopeless addictions, after Bloodshot's beating it up, you basically then get a series of scenes to introduce everybody, a few other folk. So then you've got Archer and Armstrong in the bar, and Archer's doing the pool hustling, and there's some people with absolutely terrible Irish accents. Mm-hmm. And then he beats them up in a toilet. Because every good action film has to have a fight scene in a toilet.
It's the natural arena.
And does he pee on the guy?
Yeah.
I think he does pee on the guy.
The guy at the loo turns away from the urinal and just lets it rip.
Yeah.
I'm just going to let it rip. Did you notice Armstrong had a Princess Leia style accent change from start to finish?
No.
Yes, he did.
He was closer to attempting some sort of British, and then by the end had just given up. It was full American.
Yeah. When he first meets Darth Vader, he's quite English, but then later on.
But you get it with Princess Leia when she says,
"He does
the planet of Alderaan," and then later on she sounds like a cowboy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a thing. I think when you get Armstrong immediately followed by Eternal Warrior as well, you realise like you have not agreed on an accent for like you guys as an ancient couple of brothers. You've just got what accent should it be? It's like, well, Johnny Drip Drip should sound like Johnny, and and Laser from Dodgeball should sound however he feels like in the moment. It's all good.
Roll with it.
So Kevin Porter, who plays Armstrong, I'm incredibly interested by the fact that he seems to be like known for like nothing. He was Laser in Dodgeball, and then like 15 years later he was Armstrong, and between the two, who knows? Who cares? Can
I just bring up a point, Zach? Which other actor was in Dodgeball?
And this.
Not this, but just generally, an actor who was in Dodgeball. I'm not saying that Alan Tudyk was in Dodgeball, but he was in Dodgeball with Kevin Porter.
He was in Dodgeball.
Steve the pirate.
He was the pirate.
Yeah. Because I tried to play 6 Degrees of Alan Tudyk because it's a theme that we go with, and I've done it. It's very simple.
There it is.
So not important, but one of my favourite film scenes I think about all the time is, who am I going to share all this treasure with? Yeah, all the time. Basically, constant. If you're ever wondering what I'm thinking about and I'm like quiet for a bit, I'm probably thinking about Alan Tudyk as a pirate.
Which, yeah.
It is reasonable.
He has been in other things. I mean, not many things, Kevin Porter, but he has been in other things. Mostly short web series by the looks of it that nobody saw.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, nothing against him. I don't even think he's that bad an Armstrong. I think in the grand scheme of things,
he's not the worst link in this casting.
No.
By a long chalk.
I mean, what's he called now? Main boy. Michael Rowe has the dubious honour of being Deadshot in the Arrowverse.
True.
Oh,
yeah.
So he's got some previous.
I quite like him as Deadshot.
I thought he was all right. I mean, I didn't watch a lot of Arrow. The first 2 seasons or so was quite enough, but I think he falls within that bracket, doesn't he?
Sorry, go
on. I know at the time a lot of people kind of compared this. I say a lot of people. That's obviously not true. People, made a lot of comparisons between this in quality and like the CW DC shows.
I immediately thought of, because I've only watched like the pilot to Legends of Tomorrow, but I immediately thought of that.
See, I can't help but think, and I've thought about that. I've been stewing on this for 3 years now, obviously.
It's been a long 3 years.
I have to say, if you've watched any serious amount of CW shows versus this, what a shitty thing to say. To say that an entire network's budget of actual sets and locations versus an hour and 10 minutes worth of green screen. Okay, the costumes, sure. But the actual, like, casting budget and, like, scenery and special effects, that is incredibly unfair for CW to say that this is the same level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I find it as a really odd thing because it just shows that people just looked at the CW shows and went, I'm not going to watch this, but I'm going to ultimately use this as like a low budget bar, even though CW stuff looks pretty good most of the time.
I think that's not where my criticisms would have. Yeah. I think we're probably about to say the same thing, Matt, so you go ahead, buddy.
After you, please.
I was going to say much the same. Like, they're not my cup of tea, but it's not the area that I'd criticize it. Like, I think they look good. I think the costumes are generally quite good in that. I think the CGI, I've seen some a bit of the Flash, which I think generally looks quite decent. Yeah. There's one particular bit of Legends of Tomorrow where they have a kind of Hulk style character, and it's really bad. But it just seems like a one-off moment where something went wrong. But generally, no, that's not what I'd criticize them for sure.
It's something that when I was rewatching this, I really thought about the fact that it's like, no, there's almost no real sets in this. There's so much CGI, and there's so many, like, here's a photo of Paris, here's a photo of London, here's
some stock footage we stole from somebody else.
And again, I'm not knocking it. I know that this was considerably less budget than CW or whoever makes the Marvel shows. I don't know. Who made S.H.I.E.L.D.? Did anyone make Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I think somebody tried.
Don't get me wrong, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did everything by using a plane as the setting, right? They just live on a plane all the time and hang out on a plane.
In the first season, and then it all... I don't know, I gave up in season 3, so I couldn't tell you what they're using now, but yeah.
Season 3, the Inhumans?
Yes.
Carl McLaughlin, that should keep you there for a full season. And that lady I like who plays Sky's mother. I can't say her name. I can't say her name, but it's a lot of syllables.
It is. She was good.
Get
on that while we. So, just to fill the audience in as to what's occurring in the film at this point, well, Zach looks that up for us.
Dishan Lackman.
Ah, yes! There you go. She's good.
She is good.
She should be in more things.
Also in Altered Carbon. Also quite good.
She gets some good shows and some bad shows.
And of course, Angela, you know the connection between Altered Carbon and Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe. There isn't one. Carry on.
Damn, I was kind of hoping that someone would cross over, but no, I did look up most of the IMDb's of most of the actors in here, and I'll be honest, I've not really seen much else they've been in, if anything. Although, the guy who plays Neville's assistant, Andre Gordon, was apparently a security guard in an episode of NCIS Los Angeles, so I'm sure my mother's seen him in that, and I'll ask her what she thought.
I think the Michael Rowe to John Barrowman to Doctor Who, now that's a connection that opens up paths. You've got Eccleston, you've got the other ones.
Tennant, Smith, Capaldi, Whittaker. I don't know why we're referring to the Millie by their surnames, but let's do that.
It's a never-ending list. Well, it's ended now, but it would otherwise be never-ending.
Yeah.
If you're out there and you're still listening, thanks.
And why?
Look at your life choices.
Please, answers on a postcard as to what's got you this deep.
Why? Leave a comment. We're sorry if we take any of the characters' names in vain. I'm just gonna...
Incidentally, if you did want to leave a comment, we're available on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and at our website, biggerthancapes.com.
Yay!
Very nice.
Yeah, so we've done the introduction to Gilad. We don't need to go over that. It's snowing. Livewire shows up. And then we get Arik, who seems to oil himself on the side of a cliff.
Just putting a bit of bronzer on.
I'm like, is it warm, love? I mean, you just appear to be like you've put some extra virgin on for some reason.
It's best for tanning, I hear.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the lobster looks in. And after that image, we have a flashback because this film needs to establish character, and we have a flashback between Colin and Neville and the daughter and all of that kind of stuff.
4 years ago.
Yeah. I still don't know how old the daughter is, or how that photo, was that the daughter then? Is that the daughter now? I'm confused.
She's ageless.
So is she Neville's daughter, or is she in fact Armstrong's daughter? That is the real question I think we need answering.
That's the real undercurrent of the film. Infidelity.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Did it trouble either of any of you as Valiant fans that at least to my knowledge, Archer and Armstrong have never been in Unity?
It did feel like the characters they put in Unity were kind of just, who do we want in this show? Cool, they're in Unity now. And
which honestly I don't mind.
No, I'm okay with the idea, but Bloodshot's barely in Unity, if memory serves.
Yeah,
he does like a one-issue burst or something crap.
He comes in and then he leaves.
I would rather that they grabbed characters they felt an affinity for, and just kind of write around that, like write that, than try and stick entirely to like a comics roster. Because in some cases I can say like, well, I've seen that sort of that thing, and like I want Archer and Armstrong. I love Archer and Armstrong, and you're not going to give me an Archer and Armstrong TV show. So, you know,
but no Quantum and Woody.
See,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, I hope I'm not making this up. I hope this is something I legitimately remember. But I'm fairly sure Aaron Shoke.
We'll go with that.
The screenwriter for this. I'm sure I heard him on a podcast, like
pitching a Quantum and Woody.
No. I'm sure I heard him on a podcast talk about the Quantum and Woody scenes they either wrote or filmed for this. And I'm sure it was something about Quantum and Woody are like waiting on the couch, and there's like they're seeing on TV stuff about Ninjak or something like this, and they're like, we're gonna get the call any day now. Yeah, the
honestly, I'd like that.
That would have been nice.
Sure, I would have loved
just any second now. We're gonna get the call.
That's what they said. It was like Quantum Woody and the goat sat on the couch waiting for the call to come in, and then the phone rings, but that's the end of the season.
See, that's why they had to not do it. Goat pushed the CGI budget way over.
Well,
people, the monkey was expensive. Wait for the goats.
Unless I'm mistaken, I think they'd either written or filmed that, and it got cut because there was meant to be a Quantum and Woody TV show, and it's now 3 years later, and we're still waiting. I'm sure that's what he said on the, I don't know, the Valiant podcast, the Get Valiant. I want to say it's the Get Valiant podcast.
Valiant, yeah. Get Valiant. Of all the podcasts, they seem the likely culprits.
So, yeah, there was meant to be like joke Quantum and Woody, and instead we got no Quantum and Woody.
Which makes us all sad.
I'll tell you what we do get, though. Or are we trying to do this in order? Are we still trying
Carry on, because, you know...
We're doing it in a mishmash of order and not order.
We do get the teaser at the end as if there's going to be a sequel where Master Dark rocks up. Like,
oh, yeah.
Also, why do
Master Dark?
Why do we see Master Dark's temple at the beginning?
Just foreshadowing, mate. Good writing. Just good writing.
Like Will said, it's foreshadowing. It's to set something up so you're not surprised when you see it at the end, because you go, oh, I saw this in the beginning.
Didn't know what it meant then, and I don't know what it means now.
Well, thank God I've stuck with this entire thing so I can see it again.
Oh.
I'll tell you, and this is a spoiler for a future episode, more confidence that this was going to get a sequel than 2015's Fantastic Four, wasn't there?
Hell yeah. Which
the irony is they will make another Fantastic Four film at some point.
I know, and unfortunately, Zach and I are now contract bound to watch it at some point.
Yeah, thank you for doing that as well, because if it's awful, at least you can tell me and I can avoid it.
Whereas, you know, Dark versus Master Dark versus the Valiant Universe.
I'd watch that. I'm more excited for that. Especially if his sister gets involved. That would be nice. Family show.
Sandria?
Yeah.
Which one?
The first one.
So the Internal Warrior has been introduced. Aric's oiling himself up.
Yeah.
We're having a flashback. Flashbacks, baby. Flashback is a nice idea.
If only it was executed in a way that meant we cared.
I thought Will was like responding in shock then, but that was just a yawn. I know a bit.
It was. It just caught me by surprise a little bit.
I thought that was how Will felt about the flashback myself.
As flashbacks go, it wasn't a terrible idea, but it ultimately basically just told us that they hung out once and Colin is aware that Neville has a daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who he cares about.
Which I think he knows, because when Roku said, I've got Neville's daughter, I imagine he twigged at that point.
Also, at some point, Neville's wife becomes his ex-wife, and she seems to do that during the plot of this web series.
To be fair, I'd have left him. He's got some mustard on his shirt. It's gross.
He's having an affair with a sandwich. I'm not interested.
And his assistant.
Yeah. That's the untold story.
I was just going to make some offhand comments about Neville then, but I just find it hard to believe that he's the kind of man who slices his sandwich at his desk and has it on a plate. He strikes me as a Tupperware kind of man. I think he slices sandwiches before he gets to work.
Maybe that's showing his wrecked home life.
Forgot to cut his sandwiches.
Yeah.
Yeah, now he's not got his wife.
Domestic life is a mess. So he gets up in the morning, slaps some mustard on some bread.
It's like a deduction Sherlock Holmes would make. That man is eating a sandwich like that. Clearly, his wife has left him.
Crisps and mustard. He's a sad sack. Although crisps and mustard sandwich sound quite good. Oh no, Catherine's going to leave me. It's coming.
What happens after the flashback, Angela?
I'm glad you asked. Right. So then we have a flash forward to Neville's wife and daughter who are being held by the lady with the terrible scary hair. Roku. They're the one.
Yeah.
And she visits them and is, threatening. And I mean, I'm not going to say that child actors are difficult to work with, because I'm sure they are. But basically, the stage direction they gave this small child was just bury your head in that woman's chest and just pretend to cry for this scene. And that was and to be fair, she plays that absolutely perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
The wife appears to be, I'm going to talk about the daughter when she actually speaks later on. She's clearly American. The wife is clearly American, so I assume that the ex-wife took the daughter and raised her in America, which begs the question, how was Neville going to see her for the weekend? Are transatlantic flights really that cheap?
In the Valiant Universe.
No one can hear you scream.
Nobody can charge you to fly.
Or is he diverting MI6 resources so he can go and pick up his daughter in a government jet?
That could be it, the private jet.
These questions. So many questions.
Well, we'll send you back in time several years so that you can ask them, so that they can get, so that they can be corrected.
Yeah, we'll fix this using time travel. Bullshit time travel. That's what we'll do. We'll fix it. So yeah, that then happens. Neville leaves a message for his wife to say about the fact that he can't see the daughter because stuff's come up at work. For some reason, he's not at all suspicious of the fact that it's night time and his wife's answering the phone. Maybe it's the time difference. Don't know. And then we have the classic Bloodshot versus Ninjak factory fight scene. Discuss if you wish.
Get stabbed with cold.
Yeah, the way to defeat Bloodshot is to freeze him.
Which I don't dislike as I can't really do that much, honestly. You're just going to keep coming.
As a solution to an unkillable machine, I guess it kind of works. It's sort of convenient that he's got his hands around his throat at the time he freezes him. By the time he's frozen, his hands are just gently splayed open so that Ninjak can crawl free rather than being frozen tight around his neck.
I do have to question that when we see Bloodshot unfreeze, that's the perfect moment for him to eat some jerky or an entire cow, as we often see him do in the comics.
Yeah.
At least Mr. Freeze quib.
Yeah, there's ample opportunity for this to either fill in the character or make some dumb joke, and instead we get, he stole my bike, but left my trench coat behind.
Is it like a reference to, I'm sure there's a film where there is a line like, he stole my bike, and I'm sure it's a better film, but I just can't remember it at the moment. But I feel like that is a thing that's happened in a film, and therefore we have to put it in probably an action film.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could be. Definitely.
I don't know off the top of my bonds, but
no, it's vaguely familiar. Right. Yeah.
That is something that's missing from this. We don't get any of those like action movie quips, do we? Like, stick around or.
Yeah.
The only one that I can think of off the top of my head.
Sorry to leave you in the cold.
There you go. That's good. Of course, my favourite thing about action movie quips is that there's no reason for any of it to be said, is there? So it's like if you like embellishing the story afterwards, it's like, so I was fighting Bloodshot and I injected him with like liquid cold, and then I'm all like, sorry to leave you in the cold. It's just funny because it's like a pun kind of thing.
You might say it just if you're feeling a bit low about yourself. You might just say it just so you feel a little better, so you can just go like, ha.
Walking away like, crack me up, man.
And then you hit the frozen person with like a stick and you crack them up. Like, because they're frozen, they shatter.
Would Bloodshot shatter if you hit him with a stick?
Is that like in Terminator 2? Is that the plan?
Yeah.
Like freeze him and then shatter him.
Yeah.
But then, if we warmed up the bits of Bloodshot, would they come back together and form a Bloodshot?
Or would they form lots of little
Bloodshots, like in Sorcerer's Apprentice.
And that's where Blood Squirt comes from.
Aha!
Yeah.
This is a great film that we're writing steadily.
Valiant, if you're listening. Have we got a pitch for you?
It's basically what you've made, but with all these additional bits that we've thought about.
We've just got the jokes that tie everything else together.
Really bring it home.
Yeah, deep into the Valiant lore.
So, the fight isn't bad overall. It ends kind of dumb, but the choreography is good.
It's dumb in the right way.
Yeah.
It's comic book dumb.
Yeah,
like, it is.
I think that saying, "Hey, this comic book movie is dumb," sometimes can be like this action comic book movie is dumb. Is kind of being a little bit unfair, because like when you've got people punching people through walls for no and shooting lasers and stuff, and it's like, okay, I can you just have. It's one of these things where it's not about exactly suspension of disbelief, but it's about just going like, you know what, that's good with me. Am I going to get to see more people get frozen? No. Am I going to get to see equally dumb stuff? Yes. Am I going to get to see Bloodshot flying a fighter jet whilst Arik is on the other side so that they can pick? Oh, it's great.
One of the notes I've made is, but why is Bloodshot in a fighter jet?
Because we've paid Jason David Frank probably the most out of any of this cast, and damn it, we're gonna get our money's worth.
That was on his rider. I need to be in a jet at some point.
Must have scene with fighter jet. Explanation not necessary. If Exo Manowar gets to fly, so does Bloodshot.
Yeah. I'm sure that was all there was to it.
That makes sense.
So following the fight, we go back to MI6, where I'm going to question why Capshaw's there, because she's US military. Admittedly, she doesn't know how to put medals on a military uniform, because apparently you put some on both sides, so it's symmetrical. And we don't know what branch of the armed forces she's involved with, but she's a colonel, even though she doesn't really have a colonel insignia. But hey.
See,
yeah, that's the thing as well, is that when we first see her, she's in the kind of action suit.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that Capshaw is a recognised military rank. Like in the comics, she's almost always seen in uniform, and like she's the one barking orders and making the tough decisions. She's not. I mean, when it comes to her doorstep, like she's ready to get involved. But as a character, I prefer her much more of being a authoritarian kind of commander role. Sort of a Nick Fury, which is obviously what she's is as the head of Gate, than a Winter Soldier, which is what she looks like at the start.
It's weird. I'd completely forgotten that Capshaw was in this, and
I think the writers did about halfway.
She's pretty immaterial, yeah.
Whilst I think including her is good, I can't help think it would have been nice if she'd been like, as important as Neville, and if she'd been the one, getting Unity on the blower as she is, in charge of Unity.
Mm-hmm.
That would have made sense, though. And if we've learned anything so far, it's that Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe is anti-sense.
Harsh, but fair. Oh God, the reality.
It's a terrible reality.
Crushing weight of reality.
So, sort of after that, we go back to the flashback with the training bit, where Gil
4 months earlier.
4 months earlier, because that's the thing, because we have to establish what Unity is and how these people came together as a team, even though we don't really do that with this flashback, but let's gloss over it. Yeah, and basically Gilad is basically Yoda. That's the note I've made.
Does this scene suggest that the best training facility MI6 has is an abandoned warehouse?
With a few crash mats. Don't forget the crash mats.
I mean,
with a few crash mats.
Well, let's work through who we've got. So we have a machine man who doesn't really need to be trained in anything. Like he's an invulnerable machine man. You've got a Visigoth warrior wearing a alien spacesuit, another immortal, and a kid who can just think of fighting, and it happens.
Not just fighting, any skill.
Literally anything, including any psi ability that are not really covered in this show, but could do anything that Livewire could do, or any other character. What are they training for?
They're training to be a team. So they should be doing like trust falls and doing that awkward like creeping death thing where you go around and like, hi,
games.
I'm Armstrong and I like drinking and satchels.
My favourite Sunday. That sort of.
Do you reckon if you did a trust fall with like Bloodshot that he'd weigh a ton?
I don't know. We've never really covered if the nanites are heavy or if.
Well, the amount of nanites he has in there.
I mean, he is like chock full of them, isn't he? I guess that's the thing.
It's like what weighs more, 1 million ants or something else that's quite heavy?
Or Bloodshot, yeah.
Or Bloodshot. 1 million ants or 1 million nanites? Which weighs more?
It's a good question. Out of all of them, I think Trust Falls, I think you can best rely on Archer.
Well,
yeah. I think Livewire would be okay. Mm-hmm. But do not trust Armstrong.
No.
At all. He's not going to catch you. He's not going to bother. Eric's not going to bother.
No.
But I think this could have been an entirely different scene if we'd cut to them all like sat around in a circle introducing themselves and being like, hi, I'm Gilad, I'm impossibly old and the planet brings me back from the dead to just protect the current gardener. And
there definitely should have been a HA meeting, like Heroes Anonymous.
They do the icebreaker game where you put a stick where like you've got a sticker with a famous person on your head and they all have to describe it. Is it Toyo Harada?
Is it sunlight on snow? That famous character.
I could have been into that. There's potential for
far better.
It's only just crossed my mind as well that they've obviously picked Ninjak to be the focal point, But there is literally a comic series of everybody versus Gilad.
That is, yeah.
And I thought, well, yeah, I mean, you've already got the story in existence if you do it that way around. Do you think Ninjak's the most marketable?
No.
I think it would have been more interesting to do it with, say, the Book of the Geomancer. He doesn't think that MI6 is the safest place to put it because, let's be honest, Neville drops the ball now and then. So he gets wind that someone's going to steal it from MI6, so he decides to preempt it and steal it himself because,
that was their plan.
Exactly. Nice. Matt, you see? There we go.
That's another episode to post.
And it's the null. Because I want it to be the null.
And it's the null.
You can have it as the null. It doesn't really matter. But anyway, there you go. And then the others have to track him down. But he's not prepared to trust them because Armstrong's his brother who he's got issues with. He trusts, he doesn't know if he can trust them because it's important that he looks after it. And what if they don't understand it and, he's got issues. And yeah, you could just, there you go, Valiant. There's another idea for you.
Yep, I'd buy into that.
You could even put Kay McHenry in that and explain what a geomancer is.
Which would have made it 1,000 times better.
Well, we have been threatened in the past with the Eternal Warrior film starring Dave Bautista.
Yes, we have.
Does anyone think we're going to get that film at this point?
No.
If you were to cast a professional wrestler as Eternal Warrior, and it couldn't be any of the Johnny Hennigan variations.
He's such a good pick for that, though. He's got that right amount of awkward. Because Gilad is socially awkward.
Yeah, he's like stiff and uncomfortable. And
really digging down into the old memory banks. Triple H.
Ooh, not entirely a bad call. I can.
Right.
Oh, he's bald now, though.
Oh, he's bald now? Oh, that's disappointing.
He could wear a wig.
Jake the Snake Roberts. Just because I want to see the Ultimate Warrior. Sorry, the Ultimate Warrior. The Eternal Warrior. Just cut the most incredible promos you've ever heard. I want him to do a heel turn where he buries someone alive after pretending to train them for ages.
That's like an inside baseball joke.
Really not where I expected that to go. But
I'm thinking of a legitimate answer as well. But
of course you are.
Yeah. I'll come back if at some point down the line you just hear me shout a name. I'll try and not just yell one of my favorite wrestlers. Like at some point, I'll try to avoid just yelling Arn Anderson into the microphone because he would be an objectively terrible choice. But
I can see the confusion in Will's eyes, and
I'm just trying to think of more Johnny Tinsel Beam, Johnny Flesh Market, Johnny Draw Finger, and so on.
You're doing good.
Actually, you know what? Give Christian a go. I can see giving Christian Cage a go at it. It's no John Morrison, but it's...
Apparently, it has to be a wrestler, though. We've learned this. You can't go casting an actor to do it. You have to get someone who's a wrestler and actor.
Yeah.
Like Christian Cage, to be fair. Because if we were getting an actor, you just get Keanu Reeves and be done with it, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah.
Is that what Berserker is?
Pretty much.
Yeah,
kind of. There was a point where I was going to ask people to fan cast the Valiant Universe, and I just realised that this episode is so long already.
I'd have to spend a while thinking about wrestlers.
I'd have to spend a while looking up wrestlers.
So, okay. What's the point of this episode? What are we doing right now?
Well, we are revisiting Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe and giving it the critical deep dive that it really didn't have at the
Never
time.
asked for.
So Paul Burchill is Ninjak.
2005 called. They want their pirate back.
Oh dear. Yeah, but that's what we're doing. We are bringing this to the attention of the world and telling them why they shouldn't watch it, essentially.
Right.
But describing the much better Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe, they should watch in their heads.
Legitimate.
Actually, Brian Kendrick for the Ultimate Warrior.
It's not the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh, the Eternal Warrior.
Ultimate Warrior is his stage name.
Oh,
the Internal Warrior is his porn name.
Oh. Right. Legitimately, as a comment about this show.
Try as you might.
Come on, Zach, you can get us back on track.
I think the biggest problem with Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe is that they settled on Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe.
Yeah.
If we had like a 10-minute Livewire episode, a 10-minute Bloodshot, a 10-minute EXO, a 10-minute...
If it had the exact same amount of episodes, but they were each a deep... Like, if they were each a focus episode, and then they all came together in, like, one or two last episodes to tell the story...
Oh, maybe not even that, maybe just 10 minutes of non-connected material that, like, at the end of, if you're interested enough, you go and read some Archer and Armstrong, you go and pick up a Bloodshot comic.
I feel like a, like, converge episodes that have, like, a convergence point would have worked really well. And like you say, like, because some characters, just don't get enough time to actually tell you anything about them other than, like, Livewire. All you really know about Livewire is, like, that she can control their nanites, like, and that's as if that's, like, all, like, you don't really know anything.
Yeah.
If they were dead set on Ninjak as well, you could do almost like a Brave and the Bold thing of its Ninjak teams up with a character for a mission, and then that's done with, and then you learn a bit about that character through Ninjak, and great, that could work as well, I guess.
Yeah, the other thing as well is that although they're all together, these are quite disparate parts of the Valiant Universe. There's a reason that not all of these are actually on the Unity team in the comics. In that, yes, it's an interconnected universe, but the world that Shadow Man walks in is quite different to Archer and Armstrong, is quite different to Bloodshot. Like, they all have their own tone, even though there is crossover and they're all set in the same universe. But, like, Archer and Armstrong crossover best with Quantum and Woody, and they're, like, in their little comedic corner, or, less blood and guts kind of area. Exo's got his whole sci-fi thing. Bloodshot, if you read the Jeff Lemire run, has much sadness. It's that kind of thing. So it would make more sense to have Ninjak sort of team up with each one for a mission, and then you've got your bit of a crossover. You've got it all linked together. But I think it is difficult to put Archer and Armstrong in the same thing with Exo and keep it tonally consistent.
That said, we saw in Van Lente's run, we got a crossover between Bloodshot and Archer and Armstrong.
We did, which is why I picked Exo for my example.
Yeah. So some of these things do work together in quite odd ways, but
I know what you mean, Angela. I do think they often stay in their lane for the most part. You've kind of got the horror side, the action side, the sci-fi side, and they often chart their own course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, which works quite well in the comics. And the other thing is, who is this for? Do you want Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe? Because the way it was made and released and all the rest of it, it was clearly made for people who know the characters, who are fans, who are going to seek it out because you're putting it on CBR.com. Mm-hmm. Whereas, it's like, what was the point of this? Was this meant to introduce people to Valiant? Because I don't think it worked like that, because all the comments under the videos when they were released at the time were basically Valiant fans because they knew what it was and they chose to.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I was saying. Like putting it on CBR, which is a website you only go to if you already like read comics and all that want to find out about a comic, and stuff like. Is like it's not the worst choice in the world, but it is a case of like you are getting an audience that already cares about this stuff.
You preach into the choir.
Yeah.
This is all very true.
What happens next?
Yeah, I mean, are we carrying on with the narrative?
Shall we fast forward to the great fight?
The great fight, capitalized.
The best fight.
So it's Ultimate Warrior versus Jake Roberts.
Yes. Roberts, like a few weeks before, buried the Ultimate Warrior alive. After asking him, "Do you trust me?"
So. Alex and Armstrong have been buried alive by Ninjak.
Yeah. What happened? So, Exo and Ninjak had a fight. At the end of it, Bloodshot shoots Ninjak with the magic dissolving adrenaline bullet. He ends up in the dead side. Shadow Man brings his back. Then they end up in a church. Everyone sort of, except Archer and Armstrong, who are mysteriously on a road trip. For some reason, not answering the phone.
Driving a Jeep on the wrong side of the road in America.
Exactly.
Does anybody else think that they're driving a Jeep in America on the correct side of the road and then they flipped the footage so it's like he's driving on the right-hand side on the left-hand side of the road?
Almost definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. I was worried I was being too harsh, but if we're all in agreement that that's how
absolutely what happened. Exo, Livewire, Bloodshot and Gilad are in the church. Shadow Man appears and is enigmatic, and then they're like, oh yes, we should team up and all that jazz, and then Archer and Armstrong, no one can get through to them, and then they have the best fight in the whole thing with Ninjak in the bathroom. Is it a motel or is it just
it just seems like
it's a dive
up shack.
It looks like a shit tip.
It's the shit tip. Yeah,
you would feel bad living there. It's nowhere near anything, but it's also in England. This is something that I struggle with. Yeah. Where is this? Like, you can tell me when flashbacks are, but you can't tell me which part of fictitious England you think has got mountains.
And
do you remember lots of mountains? But
there are no mountains in England.
Oh, I mean,
we have hills. We have
Ben
quite
Nevis.
serious hills. Oh, don't just make locations up, Will.
Did I remember there was a Jackie Chan? Yeah, you're right. It's in Wales, isn't it, Ben Nevis?
Yeah.
In Britain.
In Britain.
Do you remember there was a Jackie Chan cartoon?
I do.
Yes, Jackie Chan.
There's one particular episode where there's like a London tour guide, and he takes the tour bus to Stonehenge.
Yes.
Just just pop outside of London to Stonehenge and
just
pop back in.
Minutes.
I love Jackie Chan adventures growing up.
Me too.
But like I say, just to clarify, in case we get corrections, we are aware Ben Nevis is in Scotland.
Yes, Matt is aware that Ben Nevis is in Scotland.
Snowdonia is in Wales, right?
Yeah,
right, that way round.
The existence of any mountains in England.
Well, these aren't in England; these are in Britain.
True.
Yeah, but as we know,
I'm still denying the existence of Britain.
As we know, in American media, Britain equals England every time.
Right.
Unless it's mysterious Scotland, in which case terrible accents come into play, but generally Britain equals England.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically either Cockney or posh.
Yeah, they're the two accents.
They're the only two ways that people speak in England, according to most American films.
And according to the reality, I think. So I think most of us are posh, except for Will, who's Cockney, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm a Cockney.
Yeah. So after all that stuff happens, there's the big fight underground with all of Unity and Ninjak and Roko's henchmen. I'm just going to put it out there. Did anyone notice the ethnicity of literally every single person who works for Roku?
Ooh, English.
No.
No, they're all Asian.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's racial stereotyping going on. And I'm not saying that she's got an interesting hiring policy. Maybe she has. Maybe she's going for diversity and she just happens to be employing all Asian henchmen. But I just thought I'd throw that out there.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them that it might just be the same man who has been copied and pasted throughout the scene. It might literally just be one dude.
No, there's two different hairstyles. There's at least two of them. There's two of them.
At least two guys. In the fight, the Archer and Armstrong and Ninjak fight, I think there's some of the some of the more successful like comedy bits. I thought the good cop, bad cop argument that they have was actually genuinely quite funny. And when he's like slamming his head in the door, again, it was very slapstick. And the fact that he takes Archer out sort of on purpose after he gets the message that they're not supposed to be fighting Ninjak anymore. Yeah. Or just fucking whops him straight into a wall really hard. That made me laugh.
It's interesting because that sequence, the good cop, bad cop discussion, the actual fight, the interaction with Ninjak, and knocking Archer out essentially, and then get his head cracked open with a door. All feels like it's been written by someone who's like read some Archer and Armstrong and gets it.
Yeah, Previous to that, it felt like they hadn't.
Now it doesn't go on IMDb. It doesn't go into detail, but there are series writing credits for Matt Kint, Clay Mann, Mark Moretti, and Joe Quesada, who all apparently wrote one episode each. Now I don't know which one.
I wondered whether that was just like crediting
Ninjak writers.
Yeah.
Could well be. I mean, IMDb doesn't go into detail. It does say one episode, but you may well be right there that it's
wasn't Quesada the artist on Ninjak?
Yes, in the 90s when I do also wonder. Elliot Rahal, friend of the show, and
previous interviewee on this very podcast,
wrote the 4-issue comic book series to accompany this.
Yeah.
And it comes across that he wrote that after the show was like written. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, well, why didn't Elliot like just co-write the show? Because he's good at writing stuff.
It felt like a bit of an afterthought. Like, we've got this web series, we're a comics company, we should put out a comic.
Yeah, and I remember people, this is so 2018. I remember people talking about the Ninjak versus comic book series and how cool it would be if it came out with like, the DVD like in the back of it, or like a download code to download the show. Obviously that didn't happen.
No. Another good idea wasted.
But all the the trade should come out and have the DVD with it, or a way to get it online. It's like, should it though? Will it?
I mean, yeah, probably should have.
Should come out with a film on a Betamax tape.
Natural Betamax.
I do wonder. Alright, I own all of Ninjak Versus in singles. Angela owns all of Ninjak Versus in singles.
Yep.
Matt and Will, any interest from either of you to go and read that comic book?
No.
only insofar as to see what the differences are.
Okay, yeah.
I have a natural distrust for reverse tie-ins, novelizations of films, of games, comics of games. I just generally,
I'm always fascinated by those, even if just like in the same way that I'm fascinated by things like, they did a novelization of an episode of Quantum Leap.
Yeah,
that's an exception. That sounds genius.
And stuff like that, like where also I regularly think about like novelization of Quantum Leap, because just how often is it Sam looking into a mirror and going, "Oh boy." Like just the idea of Sam stared into the mirror, but the reflection was not his own. Gives a description. Gives a description of his new body. Sam, and then you turn the page and it's just the 2 words, and then it's the end of chapter. It's just, "Oh boy," chapter break.
The following page is just a full page that just has theme tune, and you have to imagine it in your
head. Colin looked into the mirror, and Roku stared back at him through a plasma screen at the opposite end of the conference table.
Oh boy!
That's genius.
But yeah, like I do. I even if they're not good, I'm often interested by them. By that sort of thing, even if it's just that I will read descriptions of them, or like synopses, just because often those things get buck wild.
Yeah.
So okay,
like I say, insofar as to see what's different.
Yeah. No, that is fair. And okay, sorry to once again derail us. So.
Putting us back on the rails,
yeah. I'm going to hop back on the rails for a second. So, Throwdown with Roku and her ninjas, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're minions, so I'm calling them Minjas.
That's risky.
Which is very, very risky, but it's out there now.
Throwdown in Roku's, I don't know, warehouse, bunker, underground car park, I don't know. And I don't know, stuff happens from there, I guess. Somehow they end up on a plane, but only some of them.
Roku basically leaves them to fight it out, and no, right, they've got her cornered, but she grabs the small girl, Neville's daughter, that's her actual role in this, not small girl. But anyway, she grabs the child. She's like, "You're coming with me." And then, everyone's upset. And so Colin follows them, and she gets on a private plane. Colin leaps on the wheels and is aboard the plane, and somehow gets from the wheel wherever the wheels on a plane go, into the actual body of the plane. And then he fights Roku, during which he straps a parachute to a child, pushes her out of a plane, and hopes for the best.
It's funny how quickly she turns from a child into a sort of middle-aged man when she's parachuting out of the plane.
Very odd. It's almost like you can't do that to children. I mean, I don't understand why you can't, parachute children out of planes.
Out of planes.
It's weird because the shot we get of the person jumping out of the plane actually reminded me of. Do you remember those action men you could get in the 90s with the clip-on parachutes?
Yes.
Oh, these were great.
It just made me think that is exactly what this looks like. Like action man parachute being dropped out of a window.
Yeah.
Doesn't survive the landing, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that's basic.
Even has an orange parachute.
Yeah.
Coincidence? I think so.
Entirely so.
Yeah. Accurate.
So yeah, plane fight. Colin dives out of a plane without parachute. Captain America's it, as we all know, and then gets intercepted by Exo Manowar, who of course cuts him into 3 equal parts as he tries to catch him with his super fast arms. And sequence.
Yeah.
Credits roll. R.I.P. Ninjak.
Yeah.
I think there's quite a nice moment when Ninjak's falling where he just sort of accepts his death.
Yeah.
Like he saved Neville's wife and daughter, and like he's taking the book with him, and there's quite a genuinely sort of sweet moment, I think, where he just sort of goes, "Well, this is me. I'm checking out."
When you just said, and he's taking the book with him, it just makes me think that of him being like, well, if I'm going down, I'm taking this novelization of Ninjak and the Valiant Universe.
But yeah, if I'm going down, I'm taking this novelization of a Quantum Leap episode where he jumps into the body of a carnival worker with me.
Yes.
Correct.
And then I don't even know what's the end of this film.
Right, okay,
Bloodshot blows up the jet with his fighter jet. I guess.
So we all think she's dead, but then we're gonna have like the post-credits sequence, which isn't a post-credit sequence, but I think it was meant to be. So Colin is saved by Exo. Bloodshot blows something up with his fighter jet, hooray! And then we get like his little narration when he's back on the ground and everyone's together, and it's like family and friends and warmth, and even if I, an unlovable soul, can find solace and friendship with these people, then maybe life's okay, or some such morals.
Yes. And then we're basically given the gist that Roku's going to be revived by Master Dark in a temple somewhere. Right. Things that I need to say before I forget. One, I want a series of like Jason David Frank action men that come with like Jason David Frank's fighter jet, Jason David Frank's
motorbike,
motorcycle,
Bloodshot, or as a Power Ranger, just
Jason David Frank as himself with various ludicrous accessories that kind of all add up, but not in the way you want.
And he has a bunch of like his Christian MMA shirts.
Yeah.
He's got his like lion sword and his dragon dagger.
All just like Jason David Frank with eagle eye action. Jason David Frank with parrot suit.
Yes.
Jason David Frank with Jesus didn't tap out t-shirt.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my merch line for JDF.
Excellent.
Yeah.
He should look into that.
I'm gonna tweet him. He's not gonna like it, but I'm gonna tweet him, tell him what I want. As a long-term fan,
I demand.
I should be able to make demands.
Yeah.
Okay.
So shall we just express all our final thoughts?
Unless Zach has more questions.
Checking my notes. The things I've not said, but we've kind of touched on. Whilst being quite 90s, I think the costumes are largely look pretty good, which we touched on. But that was the way I phrased it. My other questions that were noted were actually, why is Bloodshot in a fighter jet? Is this all meant to be England?
Yeah.
And, of course, perhaps the most important question I wrote down is, how do you know Shadow Man?
Yeah.
Well, I bumped into him in an alleyway in Manchester while I was looking for copies of Ninjak vs. Valiant.
So, no, I don't really have any more questions. This is kind of a final thoughts wrap-up.
So, yeah, final thoughts. Like, how did everyone, like, what's everyone's sort of closing thoughts on the film/series?
My expectations were pretty much rock bottom.
Yeah.
And it's a bit better than that.
Yay.
Yeah,
Sorry, you go on, buddy.
No, please go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think there is a certain ambition to it, which is laudable. I think they have attempted to make something sort of greater than their means, which I think is worthy of some praise. Like I say, I think design-wise it looks good. Fight choreography looked good. The script and the plot, I mean, the plot didn't really need to be that good. As a vehicle to get from one fight to the next, that's fine for a comic book film. Like, I'm okay with that. But the script was genuinely like trash at some points. It was probably the worst bit about it. But yeah, still kind of fun and something quite pleasingly try hard about it.
Yeah, I'd agree in the sense of like, I've always heard pretty rough things about this, and they're mostly right. But I kind of like it in the sense that it's trying in a way that like I do appreciate. Like they don't get. Like, I like probably about half of this film, like, or at least half of what it does, half of what it tries to do. I wouldn't say I necessarily like this film, but I didn't hate it, and I didn't like leave it going, oh, that was a waste of time. I went, oh, like that was way better than I had any reason to expect it would be. I think that it was fun. It was pretty stupid. It was occasionally quite bad. But then you just get those like little shining moments, like the Archer and Armstrong fight, with Ninjak, where like halfway through, the objective of the fight changes from winning to losing, and stuff like that. Like, that's really fun. Like, yeah, I like this a lot more than it maybe even deserves, but I think that the people who worked on it, like, some of them did some very good work, like particularly the costume design people. Like they really did amazingly. Like, when I wouldn't say all the fight choreography is good, but when it's good, it's really quite fun. Maybe even cut down the cast, so that you could just give us actual sort of like, just give us a little bit of something about who each of these are, a bit more than what we get. Like, drop one character maybe, and give and take that time to just give us a few minutes of just something about every other character, and I think you'd have a much better film.
I agree. I think if the ambition here is impressive, and I can see that given the first live action adaptation of any Valiant idea, I understand wanting to run with everything, and I feel the feeling of like, well, we want to give you our action characters and our mystical characters and our comedy characters and our sci-fi characters. And
was this a pilot? Really, do you think?
I think there's every chance in the world that, yes, there was some intention here that people would see this, see that, you know what, that whilst they're not the biggest names in the world, there are some like known actors. There are people here who've done voice work and people who have gone on to do things.
I can't imagine with how much money went into the costumes and stuff that it couldn't have been, like, they couldn't have intended it for only this. I can't help but feel like there was some intention that maybe we weren't going to get a Ninjak series, but maybe we were going to get a Bloodshot series or a Valiant, maybe just a Unity series or something. I can see that being a possibility. I think dropping some characters to make room for what we do have makes sense. It's kind of a contradiction because he's essential to the plot, but I feel like... No, hear me out. We have to have Shadow Man for Unity to find out what's going on. Except we don't, do we?
No, Livewire could do it.
Just Livewire can do the exact same job without Shadow Man appearing, without seeing the dead side.
I totally get that, and he is the most expendable, like, plot element character. But it is kind of good as the way they work around it, and it's fun and clever. But the fact that they tell us earlier on that Livewire can do that and it never comes up.
Livewire could run the trace on the nanites and find a link to Roku. We know that's within her skill set. And instead, we get Shadow Man. And I love Shadow Man. I think he's a good character, and I think he looks really good in this. And I get that if you want to connect to like Master Dark and the supernatural side of Roku's origin, yeah, Shadow Man does that for you. But whilst that's like all the pieces are there, we never actually explore that. So
no.
I think you could drop Shadow Man, and you could. It's harsh, and I know we're meant to love him because he's like their guy, but you can drop Exo Man at War
for sure. I mean, my drop.
I've often dreamt about dropping him from a great height. So
I certainly like Eric as a character more than you, Angela. But in this context, I just he doesn't serve a great deal in the film that other characters couldn't equally do.
Yeah. Look, we've got Bloodshot in a fighter jet. Someone can go and rescue Colin from falling to death through his death.
Yeah, he can just land on the fighter
like, okay.
jet.
Yeah.
It'll be
Gilad's like, okay, just prepare to launch the catapult. And I'll grab him.
Yeah.
Tackle him out of midair.
Tackle him out of the sky. Why not?
Yeah.
Or, get all of his gadgets.
Get a wrestler with a very good spear.
You just said that Ninjak's got a wingsuit. That's fine. He's a gadget boy, isn't he?
He's like those gliding squirrels.
There are ways to work around taking someone like Exo out of this, and I think it could have probably helped everyone else out a little bit. Nothing against Derek Feller.
That's probably how you pronounce his name.
He looks like Exo. I can see it, but he isn't the most essential to proceedings. I don't think this is a great watch, and I wouldn't recommend this to people. If you want to get into Valiant, I'd recommend reading Valiant. If you want to know more about Valiant, read Valiant.
Look, I've done 2 articles on Bigger Than Capes about Valiant.
This is a thing to watch as already a Valiant fan, just to experience it.
Yeah, if you're in that super excited early days of discovering Valiant, where you're high on the idea that there's a shared universe that's so neat and connected with so many cool characters, absolutely watch this. And it's not going to change your life. You're not going to think this is the best demonstration of superheroes I've ever seen, but it is nice and it is fun to see what a live action version of some of these characters could be.
For sure.
Yeah.
And we all got to see live action Neville, and that's what this was really about.
I mean, I've daydreamed of live action Neville for literally years.
I didn't know how much I needed Neville's assistant until we got him.
Neville's assistant is.
I'm so happy that they went with practical effects for that mustard stain. If it was, if they made it again now, it'd be CGI.
CGI mustard. Kids these days. Good.
But yeah. No, the thing is it's interesting now going back, having watched it when I was excited, and literally trying to find all the ways to watch it. Once it was taken down from CBR.com. When you're first into that, characters I like from a shared superhero universe on screen, I must, admittedly a small screen, my laptop screen, or, it's not the biggest. But you do get excited about it. And if you're new to Valiant, absolutely, you'll have that, this is how it could go. But there are better ways to do this, ultimately.
Yeah. I have to ask, do you guys think that there are Valiant fans out there who rewatch this all the time and are super into it? Or
yes, there are people who like the Suicide Squad movie.
I mean, that is true. It's not. I mean, if you are gonna, it's quite short. It's only 1 hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, there are fun bits. I could see occasionally wanting to rewatch a fight, certain scenes. As a clip, if you were just showing someone who liked who'd maybe read like an issue or two or something and going, hey, here's a cool bit that they did of them, just pretend that it's not part of a larger whole.
I mean, you could even, someone might be like in the mood to watch one of the like, oh, that was not a bad episode, I'll just rewatch that episode. I mean, I've not rewatched this in some years, and I feel like I'm the kind of person that would.
Yeah,
if it were good. We know this. If it were, I mean, the thing is you're not going to have a horrible time. You are not at any point going to want to punch the screen, as, I've watched some terrible films based on comic book adaptations, including quite recently. And it's just an absolute joyless experience. And you're just like, oh God, when will this end? Please somebody just drop a bomb and rocks fall and everybody dies. And this is fine.
Not in the film, just in
real life. Just in Woodley.
Crush me now, Lord.
It's the hedgehog's revenge. No one's gonna get that reference apart from people here. But anyway, but yeah, this is not a bad time. This is not a bad time watching it. I found it quite amusing in parts, all the wrong reasons. I'm a bit more critical of some parts than I was when I first watched it. The casting isn't bad, apart from, I mean, I have my difficulties with Archer and Armstrong, but I do wonder if part of that as well is this was around the infamous period where A&A out. And I
that when you go to the end, past the end credits, and it shows you the photos of all the covers, and it shows you that
bloody A&A, isn't it?
And I'm just like, oh.
So I get why that's possibly why they're off, because if the creators of, Bat in the Sun web series people, if they had just read the most recent versions of an Archer and Armstrong comic, that might be why I felt their dynamic was off. But yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
So, are people excited for Bloodshot next month?
I'm excited to see whether it's as good as I remember.
I think I'm the only one here who hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
Because we were all meant to go together to see it at the cinema, literally right before the first lockdown.
Yeah.
And I wasn't drawn to seek it out.
If you've seen the trailer,
I've seen it.
You'll be well prepared.
What I will say is, whilst I don't think it's a perfect film, I actually quite like Bloodshot. So that might put me in the minority here.
I just don't want to give anything away. This is gold dust for later.
Yeah.
So, Zach, do you want to give a word from our sponsors?
Sure. Our sponsors are Travelling Man. They're based in Leeds, Newcastle, York, and Manchester. Wow, I really shouldn't vary up that order. And they got Valiant comics. They've got the old stuff, the new stuff.
They've got the Valiant card game, I imagine.
They did have.
They did have.
To work out how that works.
They did have the Valiant deck builder, which I own and Angela own, and neither of us understand. They did also have the Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe card game, which also me and Angela have, but neither of us have played. Maybe that's our next. Maybe that's the third part of this. We'll do a live stream of the four of us trying to play the Valiant board games.
Yeah,
just shaking our heads and staring at each other.
Can I play Archer and Armstrong?
Sure. Why the hell not? Providing that's an option. Why not?
That's not an option in the board game. That's not an option. Ninjak versus the Valiant. I don't know if they are an option.
In Ninjak versus you can. In the Valiant deck builder, I'm not sure.
I don't think they're not in one of them. I remember, but it's been a while since I attempted to understand them.
The Ninjak versus game includes all the characters from the show.
That's it.
The deck builder includes whoever they felt like at the time.
Yeah,
some of them make no sense.
So it's possible you can still get that from Travelling Man. Who knows? But if you were going to be able to, you'd probably be able to do it from their website, which is Zach.
travelingman.com.
Yep, where you can find all sorts of Valiant and non-Valiant related goodies.
Well, why would you choose anything other than Valiant?
That's right. Make mine Valiant.
Yeah.
So I think that's the conclusion to this. We've been Angela, Matt, Will, and Zach. This has been Bigger Than Capes and will continue to be. And remember that comics are
bigger than capes.